Hello, everybody. So, building trust with your pet. Trust is a really important part of having that bond. And I would think that a lot of people that choose to have animals do it because they enjoy their company and do it because they want to have that unique interaction. But trust takes time. If you've had an animal that's been abused or it's had a traumatic separation from its family, or who knows what history that animal may have had, how do you begin to build trust from day one? How do you begin to put that foundation into place where you can actually enjoy the rest of the time that you have together? So, what tips and tricks do we have today, Susie?
Well, great question. And to me, it's oftentimes very different than what people think. I think a lot of people think trust building has to do with petting my dog, for example, or being nice to my animal all the time, or to never do anything bad to them. And yes, some of this might be correct. But what is really fascinating to me, and we see it often with horses, but also with dogs quite well, is that a certain type of leadership actually develops trust more than anything else. And leadership is another very loaded word out there, and a lot of misunderstanding. So leadership, the way I talk about it, is not power over. Gaining trust really means that the animal has your respect, and they know also that you are a capable leader. And I think that is where we have to show an animal that we are calm, cool, and collected. We know what we're doing. It's not from force, it's not from power over any of these things, but really just from that sense of knowing what makes an animal feel safe. And, that might be one thing you want to research a little bit. What makes a dog safe? What makes a horse safe? And whatever other animals you have. What actually creates that? And of course, we can give you some tips too. But this might be something for you to really dive into to get a little bit more clarity on what that animal actually requires to be trusting you.
Mm. I gain a lot from watching, like a new bitch with her puppies or a new mare with her foal, because it's that initial recognition of each other. They get to smell each other, they get to be in each other's presence, they get to touch each other. They find that space where they start familiarizing themselves. And so, regardless of the age of the pet that you have or the animal you've got around, what if it's about that space and being with them, just getting to know each other without putting too much pressure or having too many expectations of yourself or of the animal, and just hanging out for a little while, just observe, get to know each other, rather than just going straight to marriage. Why don't you court for a little while? So, and this is often where people put so much pressure on themselves to do the right thing or to be the best, animal parent, or they've got expectations of how it's supposed to be. And then when we set the expectations up, we then often, face disappointments when those expectations don't get fulfilled. So there's a lot in building this trust, but it's actually really simple if you slow everything down and just take it step by step, enjoy, relax into it, and enjoy and observe. And yeah, Susie, I totally agree. Research whatever the animal is, even the breed. If you're looking at cats or dogs, do different breeds have different requirements of you? And maybe the leadership conversation, Susie, could be for another live, because that's such a huge topic. And I know in many of our lives in the past, we've touched on this in regards to how we be there for that animal. And a lot of people would like to learn more about how to develop, well, how do I be? How do I actually be with an animal without an expectation or without doing, So reflect on how the foal is when it's first born, or the kitten when it's first born, and what occurs. What are you aware of in that space, in those first moments, in those first hours, in those first days and weeks? What is it that animal has with its babies and its puppies or kittens or whatever that builds that trust there?
Yeah. And I think you said something also very, very important. And you said, make sure you have put in some time here and you're not rushing through it. In a way, that is so important. And so often we want to get like a quick result, and we want to also do the right thing. Of course, we want to do the right thing by our animals. And that can also create a little bit of moments where you might rush into a situation. And I think for the most part, when the communication really breaks down, is also there is some misunderstanding. And for animals, timing is so important in terms of your cues and the timing of how you apply them, when you apply them. Like, even if you are trying to reprimand an animal or, show them what is the thing that you want them to do, a lot of times people have terrible timing. I'm sorry to say that, but they will do something and they will apply pressure at a time when they shouldn't apply pressure, or they will release pressure when they shouldn't release pressure, or they don't pay attention to how the animal is responding around them. Very, very simple example of that would be if you have a horse standing next to you and that horse all of a sudden starts moving into you, that would be something of disrespect, because that horse is starting to move towards you in a sense of make you move away, or I am now pushing you. This is how horses communicate with each other. And please, this is not cut and dry. Not every horse that walks towards you wants to push you around. That's not what I mean. It's more that, the energy of which that horse makes that step towards you. Is it just to say hello to you? But even that, did you ask for that? And horses are big. So you may want to have a look at what it is, like we said earlier, that is important for this particular type of animal in terms of how is leadership expressed between themselves? How do they show each other basically who is the leader? And that is really so important. And again, the funny thing is, when I used to walk all these dogs, I learned so much about leadership from certain dogs that were just leaders, and they never growled. They never even raised an eyebrow. They were just an energy. And when they would look at another dog and just look at it, the other dog would be like, never mind, I'm all good. See you later. And that was so impressive to me to see, leadership has nothing to do with force, so that was, anyway.
And maybe this can lead into, a couple of things. Number one, the element of elegance. You look at the animal kingdom, I think a lot of us admire watching and observing the animal kingdom and the elegance that they are, whether it's a giraffe or a swan, or, there's an elegance, meaning minimum effort, maximum results. So they don't use excess energy. They don't get all involved and flustered, or if they do, it's only for a very short, intense period of time for a reason. And then the rest of the time they're chilled, they're cool, they're relaxed, they're present. So there's so much we can learn by observing, and also the willingness to receive that as part of our leadership skills. Because like you say, Susie, it's not force, control, dominance, bullying. That's so old fashioned. That's how it used to be. And we're in very much a big transition phase now where people are becoming a lot more aware of how to be in their own person, in their own space, with their own life. So animals are such a great facilitator for that. And we've got a 3-part telecall coming up also, which is interesting because this month we're talking about building a foundation that works for you and your pet going forward. And what we're talking about today is just a tidbit of what's actually available for you. But maybe next time we can talk about more of this energy with leadership, Susie. I think people would be interested to hear more about that.
Yep, cool. Let's do it.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us, and enjoy your animals. And remember to sit down and just be with them, or just hang out with them and enjoy. What simultaneity of gifting and receiving can you have with your animals today? Thank you, Susie.
Thank you, Viv. And thanks, everyone, for watching. Bye.
Bye.